Welcome. This reading is from the only complete translation of Brother Lawrence called Practice of the Presence, a revolutionary translation by Carmen Acevedo Butcher. Reviewers are calling this translation by acclaimed teacher and translator Dr. Acevedo Butcher, quote, the new standard. Originally written by Nicolas Herman, or later Brother Lawrence of the Resurrection, this spiritual classic has diverse global appeal. Listen to Carmen read sections 17 through 20, the final paragraphs in the introduction to Practice of the Presence. These are Becoming Brother Lawrence, From Kitchen to Sandal Shop, Decades of Disability, The Unlikely Friendship at the Heart of This Book, and His Goodness Made Him Gentle. What I most love about Brother Lawrence is his calm humility. He has done what Rupert Spira says is the secret of living, quote, the experience of just being is pristine, luminous. The friar, Brother Lawrence, lived out the experience daily of, quote, just being through his practice of the presence, or as he simply called it, the presence. As Rupert Spira says, he doesn't want to call such practice because it separates it out. The friar also often simply calls this activity of returning to love, to our essential nature, quote, presence. And now, here are the concluding 4 sections of Carmen Acevedo Butcher's Introduction to Practice of the Presence, read by the author. Thank you for being here. Becoming Brother Lawrence, From Kitchen to Sandal Shop. After the 2 years novitiate, Brother Lawrence made his profession of vows on August 14th, 1642. He was 28. A decade had passed since his mystical experience with the leafless, lifeless tree in winter. He dedicated himself to prayer and manual work. He accepted his place on the margins of the First Estate. As a mendicant friar, mendicare is Latin for beg, he was tasked with going out into the community to ask for alms for the monastery's living expenses. As a lay brother, he also had a minimal voice in monastic decision-making. He had duties that often kept him from the morning or evening hours of silent prayer that the other monks were given, and he was also called on to serve the priests' masses in the morning. Starting out a cook in training, young Brother Lawrence was later assigned as principal cook, preparing food for the 100 or so friars, following their dietary restrictions, for example, no meat. While he admitted hating kitchen work, he also found much material for soul work in it. For about 15 years, he was principal cook, a long time to do a job a person dislikes. If we count his time as cook in training, principal cook, and then as helper, he worked in the kitchen some 40 years. Still, as Beaufort tells us, he did it, quote, with the greatest love possible. In that busy kitchen, the friar's pain and God's grace meeting it organically is how his presence practice grew like dew or mist on mountains. Before he made, say, a stew, he lifted his mind to love, or asked for help to make a good meal for his brothers, or offered up his irritation for being assigned to the kitchen. Then when he stirred the stew, he lifted his heart to the divine in thanks for the food, or perhaps in joy for a remembered blessing like a tree he'd walked past earlier in the day. And when the stew had been eaten, he thought with gratitude on its success, even as he knew with a sigh that the pots must be washed. We look for a method or a process when prayer is simply intention in the middle of dirty dishes and gratitude for a meal. Then when Brother Lawrence was in his mid-40s, difficulties with his war-injured leg increased. His leg developed a large ulcer, and his monastery superiors assigned him to the Sandal Shop, or Savaterie, where he could rest his leg, sitting more. His kitchen duties were reduced to peeling vegetables on feast days and occasionally being sent out to buy wine. From then on, Brother Lawrence enjoyed repairing his discalced Carmelite brother's sandals. His assignment to the monastery Sandal Shop brought him genuine délice, or delight, as he told Beaufort in one conversation. Even so, he added that, quote, he was ready to give up this job because he could find joy everywhere doing little things for the love of God. The Sandal Shop, Beaufort noted, best suited the friar's natural affinities for contemplation, quote, letting him cultivate or perfect a more mature awareness of God's presence. In these ways, he gradually taught his mind, heart, soul, body, and self to love. Decades of disability. Somehow the friar's practice of the presence prayer persisted even through chronic pain. At 52, Brother Lawrence began having increasingly painful disability in his leg. This continued for the last 25 years of his life. When sent on one business trip to Burgundy by river to buy wine for the monastery community, he experienced such limited mobility that he could, quote, only move about on the boat by rolling himself over the barrels. The pain and issues with mobility progressed such that in the last 2 years of his life he was unable to walk. Many have commented on the friar's wisdom related to human suffering. Archbishop Fenelon, visiting Brother Lawrence when the friar was ill, captured his calm spirit and lack of fear. Quote, I went to see him when he was very sick yet very cheerful, and we had an excellent conversation about death, as Fenelon wrote in his August 5th, 1700 letter. In the middle of pain, Brother Lawrence discovered what spiritual teacher and scholar Barbara A. Holmes names, quote, joy unspeakable. And he too calls contentement indicible, translated in his third conversation as unspeakable joy. Holmes knows this joy, unspeakable, quote, is not silent, is drum talk that invites the spirits to dance with us, is respite from the maddening crowds, is that moment of mystical encounter, and is a symphony of incongruities and the wonder of surviving together. Reading Joy Unspeakable, her study of the contemplative tradition of the Black Church that inhabits, quote, a vibrant and lived theology with practices emanating from soil, sun, life, and death. I was mindful that this is the spiritual wellspring for the friar's embodied prayer practice. Through the rhythm of work and prayer, community and solitude, singing and silence, Brother Lawrence slowly lived into the healing practice of presence during his difficult first monastic decade of spiritual and emotional struggle, and he gradually crafted and sustained an inner peace that lasted from 36 until his death at 77. He says that he practiced, quote, a conscious presence of God that became, quote, second nature to him and was, quote, his soul's life and peace for 40 plus years. The unlikely friendship at the heart of this book. For these insights into the friar's wisdom and life, we can thank his friend Joseph of Beaufort, a young Parisian priest when he first showed up to visit the former soldier from Lorraine turned cook and then monastery sandal maker. Beaufort saw Brother Lawrence as a spiritual mentor. Thankfully, he took many notes on their conversations, and after his friend's death, he also carefully gathered what he could find that Brother Lawrence himself had written down. 16 surviving letters and the spiritual maxims. With these, Beaufort became the friar's initially anonymous biographer and publisher. In part, it was an act of friendship. And convinced that the friar's writing was very, quote, helpful, graceful, and welcoming, he and other friends of Brother Lawrence, quote, didn't want to be the only ones benefiting, as Beaufort said. You can generally tell a lot about somebody by looking at their friends. It makes sense that these two men bonded, though separated in age by a generation and by society's stratifications. Although Beaufort's father was a rich merchant who became the king's secretary, and Beaufort himself had status, he was self-effacing like his friend, preferring second place. Not until the 1710 third edition of Practice of the Presence did anyone discover Beaufort's name as the friar's biographer. By the time he became Vicar General of the Bishop of Chalon-sur-Marne, he was also well positioned to publish and defend his friend's writings, especially during the tense time of Christian infighting, known as the Quietist controversy. Out of the cruelty and catastrophe that racked the 17th century, a small, unlikely, and surprisingly sturdy book grew from a friendship and its conversations to teach us about love in hard times. His goodness made him gentle. We have seen how the very human Nicolas Herman became the very calm, loving, and still very human Brother Lawrence of the Resurrection. By returning to micro moments of loving conversation with the divine, never flawlessly, but as best and as often as he could during each day, over the days, throughout decades, he grew in calmness and in presence. This practice changed him for the better, and he enjoyed life more. The best description I know of him is, unsurprisingly, by his good friend and mentee, Joseph of Beaufort, is from the profile. The virtue of Brother Lawrence never made him harsh. His goodness made him gentle. He was a warm, welcoming person. He gave others confidence. When you met him, you felt you could tell him anything. You knew you'd found a friend. As for him, once he knew the person he was dealing with, he spoke freely and showed great kindness. He said simple things, but these were always to the point and full of common sense and meaning. Once you got past his rough exterior, you discovered a unique wisdom, an openness of mind, and a spaciousness beyond the reach of an ordinary lay brother. His depth of insight exceeded all expectation, and you could consult him on anything. On the pages that follow, you will meet this genuine soul who lives in these words. His authenticity flowed from his friendship with the presence. His gentleness and warmth, great kindness and common sense, wisdom and openness of mind, which made him a wonderful friend, are the spiritual muscles that his practice of the presence prayer developed over time. Brother Lawrence is the reason this wise book has stayed alive through centuries of plague, famine, inequity, inhumanity, religious strife, wars, floods, and our ever-present human fragility. He extends friendship and wisdom to you. Enjoy becoming friends and spending time with him, returning now and again for conversation. May this book be an experience of calmness and joy for you, and of getting to know the sacred in yourself. Peace to you all.